Welcome friends to another r/entitled parents video. Are you too entitled to press the like and subscribe buttons down below? You be the judge. And our first story of the day is by Oregon Nesson. Entitled parent demands a different waiter because I stutter. About 2 years back, I worked as a waiter at a local restaurant. I was about 16 and as mentioned, had a stutter. And add to that a Romanian accent. I know a waiter probably wasn't my best option for a job, but the stutter didn't really cause many problems. Most people were very patient with me, and it never seemed to bother people, aside from a few people every once in a while that seemed a little annoyed. But one lady made a huge scene out of it. She looked like the typical Karen, middle-aged blonde lady, and she had 3 children, all between like 5 to 10. The typical, I want to speak to your manager lady. And funny enough, we'll come back to that. She came in with her kids and her husband and sat down at one of the tables that I was in charge of that night. I come over and asked if they'd like something to drink, stuttering on a word or two. Immediately the torture begins. She gives me this confused, unimpressed look and no answer. This was my worst fear. I didn't want anyone to be mad at me for my stutter, so I just followed it with, "Sorry, I have a stutter." She said, "It's alright," in a pretty annoyed tone. They ordered their drinks and she rolled her eyes in the end as the cherry on top. I went back to get a table or two and their drinks, but couldn't get it out of my head. I tried to not let it bother me, but I always felt bad when I thought I was inconveniencing a customer. And at the time, I thought that's how people saw me and that they were angry with me in their heads. For most of the story, I thought I was in the wrong. I come back with the drinks after stopping at 2 tables, and it seemed she was also upset that I was taking a while because as I was walking over, she said, "Finally." My heart was racing. I knew something bad was going to happen. We were about halfway through ordering when one of the kids wanted macaroni. Problem was, entitled mom said that last time he tried macaroni from this place, he didn't like it, so get something else. He couldn't decide on something else, so she yanked it out of his hands to order for him. She asked for chicken tenders, so I asked, 5 pieces or 3? She says, 5 pieces, just whatever, just hurry. Of course, I was getting nervous and that made it harder for me to speak. So when I turned to entitled dad, it took me even longer and I was interrupted by entitled mother. "Oh my god, can you please go to your manager and get us a different waiter? Cause we're starving and we don't want to wait half a year for something anybody else could do in 2 minutes. Entitled dad says, "Why would you even become a waiter if you can't speak?" Letting out an annoyed laugh and shaking his head. I had no idea how to respond. I was lost for words and felt like just leaving. But again, I thought this was all my problem, so I told him I'd see what I could do. I went to the manager and told him about it. He seemed pretty confused, but said he was too busy to do anything and told me to see if one of my coworkers could take care of it. I went to my friend Dan, another waiter, and told him that one of my tables asked for a different waiter. He looked just as confused and said he couldn't do that at the moment because he was already working 6 tables. He told me that if they're really that upset, they'll leave. I tried going to the only other worker that day, other than the cooks, but he was walking out the door when I saw him. I didn't know what to do, so I just took a few seconds to work up the courage to go over and tell them we couldn't do anything. As soon as entitled dad saw me walking over, he let out a frustrated, "Oh my god." I told them we were a little busy and I was the only one available. Entitled mother told me quite quickly to bring over my manager. I went in and told them they wanted to talk to him, and he got up and I followed. I just stood there as my manager, Mr. Carlson, asked them, "Is there a problem?" Entitled mother says, "Yes, your worker here. He's taking forever and seems like he doesn't even care about it. We can barely understand him." Mr. Carlson says, "Well, what has he been doing?" She says, "He's been taking forever, and now he says he won't bring us a new waiter, or even just speed it up a little. He doesn't even care about us." Mr. Carlson says, "Well, I'm sorry. I'm not sure what you want me to do. It's pretty busy today. We're just trying to make sure everyone gets their food." Entitled dad says, "Gets their food? At this rate, we should have cooked our own legs and it would have been quicker." Entitled mother says, "Why would you have a worker like that out on a busy day like this?" Mr. Carlson says, "I'm sorry, there's just not much we can do." She says, "What you should do is get us a different waiter, a normal one." Mr. Carlson said, "As I said, we're very busy. I can't do anything here. All the waiters are working right now." Entitled dad said, "This is ridiculous. What kind of business makes their customers wait half an hour for food because the waiter doesn't know how to speak?" Mr. Carlson turned to me and tells me to wait in the kitchen. I grabbed some dishes left over from a nearby table back with me. I didn't get the rest of the conversation. After I set the dishes in the sink, I walked to the back where nobody else was and just started crying. In my head, it was all my fault. I thought I was going to get fired and felt horrible. Dan overheard me and came in to talk to me and give me a hug. When I went back outside, Mr. Carlson and the entitled parents were arguing, and Mr. Carlson was telling them to leave. I started wiping down the table I grabbed dishes from and caught them just at the right time to see them leave. Mr. Carlson told them that he'd call the police if they didn't leave, and they finally got up and started leaving. Entitled mother told me on her way out, "You need to go get a job you can actually do." It cracked me again and I started bawling. I couldn't speak or even think. Mr. Carlson gave me a hug and told me I could go home. I immediately went to my car and ended the day. I couldn't stop crying when I got back home. I felt like quitting. But I stayed there for another 2 months, I believe, and luckily nothing ever came up as bad as that again. And now that I'm older, I realize how awful they were being and how I wasn't at fault there. I don't think anyone should be treated like they were treating me. Do you think that if you went out somewhere to eat and the waiter was taking a little bit longer than usual because they had a stutter, that it should be something worth being able to get a little frustrated over? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Our next story is by Emmy Gamers. Entitled parent sits next to a water slide in a water park, expects to not be hit with water. So I'm sliding down the water slide that's like 10 meters high, 20 meters wide, so you can't just be slow. You can, but not so slow that you don't splash people that's sitting like 2 meters away from the end of the slide. He also wasn't an employee. He was in swim shorts and he came in after us and left before us. Okay, so I slide lying down on my back, being very fast. As I landed and swam up, I just see an angry man standing up rushing towards me, like so fast, I wonder how he didn't fall into the pool. Entitled dad says, "Hey, stop making me and my family wet." He and his daughter, but daughter was rather embarrassed than annoyed. I say, "Then go further away from the slide, don't expect me to make up for it." He says, "Like I would care for your wants, stop annoying me and my family, otherwise you can't slide anymore." I say, "And who says that?" And he says, "The rules of the park, it says that you can't slide fast." I say, "And where's that written?" He says, "There," points at the stairs of the slide. "Now stop annoying my family." Then I just went there and read the rules. They said that kids up to 10 years are supposed to not be fast and under the supervision of parents. And then just go up the slide and commit the worst crime, slide down faster, and with 2 more people. They asked me what that was about. I told them. Before we slid, one of the boys explained to me a trick, how to make a big bomb while sliding. Not a bomb, a big one. Like, so big that the entitled dad would be covered in water, in his words. I feel bad for the daughter, but she just sat away. I think she already knew that we couldn't just stop our crimes. And the man didn't lie. We slid down together. It was a big slide and the only one, and the entitled dad was covered in water. Like he previously looked like he wasn't even in the water, and now he looked like he'd been out 5 minutes prior. Of course, I wasted my time and my ears by listening to his crap saying, "Stop ganging up on my family. You know you could all go to jail now." And which crime did we commit? Apparently a hate crime. After we slid some more times and him looking pissed, like the when you rage in games but don't say anything because you're pissed type of angry, he just moved away. And I'm currently in jail for my hate crimes I committed against his family. Wow, they must have a pretty good Wi-Fi setup there in the jail that OP's in, if they were able to write an entire story on r/entitled parents from there. I feel like if you're going to any remotely water-adjacent fun place, you should expect to get at least a little wet. It's like, otherwise, why are you even really there? Our next story is by I'm Just a Pancake. My mom thinks she's entitled to my son. I like to think I've always had a pretty great relationship with my mom, but the older my son's gotten, our relationship's gotten worse. We're currently living with her and my stepdad, but only for about another month. I've always respected her house, her rules, but I'm beyond tired of her parenting my child. I have a 3.5-year-old child. She goes against everything I say in regards to raising him. She gives him whatever he wants, whenever he wants, and it's caused his behavior to change tremendously, but only around them. She thinks just since child's her grandson, she's entitled to him whenever she wants. She's constantly making plans that involve him without telling me, and then gets pissed if we already have something going on. We spent the night at my boyfriend's, his father, and she was texting me saying we need to come home because she didn't get to see him. It's like this all the time. If I want to take my child to the park, or to the store, or anywhere, she's texting asking where he is and gets mad that we aren't home. We'll be out in a couple weeks. I'm hoping it'll get better, but honestly not sure that it will. I'm just glad OP's getting out of there. Once OP's out of there and away, it's much easier to just maintain that distance. My only fear is if the mother feels entitled to just show up whenever for the kid. If that happens, then they're gonna have to set boundaries one way or another, or they're just going to go crazy. And our final story of the day is by Poppy Throwaway 01. I had to take my mother to court, and now she's guilt tripping me. So I don't even know what this post is. Maybe a way to let my worries out. Maybe I just want to share to the world what crap I'm going through. So I'm 16 years old, my parents are divorced, and I live with my mother, but my dad still shares custody, and I'm heavily obese. Therefore, I concluded that I definitely need the vaccine to not get a dangerous COVID outcome. So I made my appointment. Due to the situation in my country, it was on a very short notice, so because I need the consent of both my parents, I needed to ask my mom. She went extreme, telling me that she doesn't want me to get this lethal injection, and that the side effects will be so much worse than COVID itself, and that she never in her life would sign this and potentially kill me. So I talked to my dad, and he wrote 2 emails to my mom stating that she should do the right thing and please just sign it to leave her out of trouble. What did my mother do? She called the doctor's office and told them that she is definitely not okay with vaccinating me. So my dad told me we could go to court with an urgent application for letting the court decide if I should get the shot or not. I told my dad I need some time to think about it. The consideration torn me. Should I take legal action against my mom? I cried myself to sleep that night because I knew it's ethically wrong to take her to court over this small thing. The next day, I asked my mother again, even after my dad wrote another email warning her that he's going to court if she doesn't respond. She yelled at me for annoying her all day. So I told him we had no choice. We had to just give it into justice's hands. The judge responded the same day and asked for a letter from my doctor that the vaccine is necessary and recommended. So they sent it over, and then it was time to wait. 1 hour before my appointment, my doctor's office called and confirmed that they got the fax from court. My grandpa took me to the doctor's office, and then I had it, finally. Unfortunately, this wasn't a happy ending because of my mother. The following really is messing with me because even today after I got my second shot, she's berating me about how I would dare take your poor mother to court and, yes, actually, you could have told me that you were taking legal actions against me. We could have worked something out without court. She also threatened to throw me out because she can't look at the disgrace that took legal actions against his own mother. I told my dad and my dad told CPS about her plan. She denied it immediately when she was asked by them. So we let it stay that way. And we're still not done. My mother got an invoice with a copy of the court order that she has to pay for the court costs. So my mother forced me to pay it out of my own pocket because I'm a disgrace that took his own mother to court. I'm so sick of hearing this sentence every day for over a month and a half, and I just want to get over it. I didn't want to take her to court, but she forced me to. And now she doesn't even want to take any blame of the actions she did over the course of a month and a half. So, I don't know OP's living situations, I don't know the condition of OP's health, but bottom line, the vaccine is really a personal decision, and I feel like at 16, if you want the vaccine, you should be allowed to get the vaccine. As far as vaccinations go, I think at 16 you got enough autonomy over your body to know whether or not you should get it. I think it was great that OP was proactive. And bottom line, in my opinion, I don't think they should feel any remorse for doing what they felt was right for their own health and safety. When OP decided that they wanted to be proactive and get the vaccine because they thought it was the safest thing for them, their mother said no and stood in the way of their own choice. And obviously the court must have felt one way about it because when it did go to court, it seemed like they fast passed a yes, go ahead, get the vaccine. It's a difficult situation, especially with all the extra words you have to hear after the fact. But the bottom line, they wanted it for what seemed like the betterment of their health and safety and future. And even though they're their own mother, they're not going to let even them stand in the way. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So of all these stories I've read today, which is your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you haven't yet, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. Whatever you do, whether it's liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, all of it helps grow this channel and I appreciate the heck out of it. So until next time, I'll see you all tomorrow with some more stories.